What's going on, everybody? This is OD and Atomic Dog from Tuck Rule again, coming to you live, talking about this Lane Kiffin situation, a lot of craziness in SEC coaching hires we got going on, some LSU men's basketball, and maybe we'll get into some NFL football. But to start the thing off, how you doing today, Atomic Dog?
Doing good, man. Can't complain, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. Doing real good. Doing better than old Miss fans right now. You know what I'm saying? Real, you know. To say that only a little bit of that state is touching that Gulf of America, they real salty right now. They real salty. You dig? But
It's salty enough to go to the airport and boo Lane Kiffin as he's getting on his plane to LSU. Like that,
bro,
that's
what
pretty
I'm
damn
saying.
salty. You're going
Bro,
to
that's
the playoffs. You're going to the playoffs, and you worrying about this?
Exactly. Like I get being upset that you're losing your coach, but at the same time, cool your jets, calm down a bit. You got the guy that you said that you wanted, which is a Mississippi man and Pete Golding, which, side note, he's really a Louisiana man because he was born and he went to school in Hammond, Louisiana. But that's a side note. You got the guy that you said you wanted in Pete Golding because you let this lane train go on a little bit too long and you missed out on going after John Summerall, who Florida stole right from underneath you because they saw the writing on the wall over a week ago. But AD, you was real perturbed about this earlier, so I'm gonna let you get into it. Go on your rant, brother.
Well, I look at this LSU Lane Kiffin situation, this Ole Miss situation. People actually, I got into a couple of Ole Miss fans prior to him going to LSU. They had a lot to say. Oh, wow. If you ever been to Oxford, Mississippi, you will understand that he would not want to leave Ole Miss and all these other things. But, I kept reminding people, when it comes down to LSU versus Ole Miss, the history is there. There's on the LSU side. You look at Ole Miss, they haven't won an SEC title since 1963. Let that resonate in your spirit for a second. 1963, they won an SEC title. Okay? When Lane Kiffin got there, the last few seasons that he's been there, they've won 10-plus games. You're 11-1 this year. You're going to the playoffs, college football playoffs. Why are you so upset? This is the nature of the business. Coaches move, players move. This is the nature of the business. You're so focused on whether you try to put the pressure on Lane Kiffin or whether he was going to stay or not, that just like you said earlier, OD, that they end up losing another coach that end up going, John Summerall, end up from Tulane, end up going to Florida. Florida has recruiting. They have the history. So that's a good job for him. But speaking on Lane Kiffin, he has the recruiting at LSU. Actually have an opportunity to recruit a defense. Ole Miss is not going to have the defense. That's why people don't feel they're going to be a threat in the playoffs because they don't have a defense that's stingy enough to allow the offense to consistently be on the field. So you look at that, recruiting. Number two, you get the money, the NIL money. LSU's top 3 in college football in NIL money. They have the boosters. They have the support of the boosters. They're going to these same boosters paid out are going to end up paying out $54 million. One booster in particular who goes unnamed is going to pay out $54 million to get rid of Brian Kelly in that fiasco. LSU has the money, the recruiting, and also the history. And then within the last decade, they've won the national championship. Lane Kiffin is bringing Charlie Weiss over with him from Ole Miss, who is in the running for who is in the running of coordinator of the year. You have a good defense already at LSU who played hella great against a team in Oklahoma, who's the number 8 team in the country right now. Lost to them 17-13. So you have a defense. You need an offense. We see what we've seen with Brian Kelly and a Garrett Nussmeier offense led by Joe Sloan as an offense coordinator, what they can do. Very anemic offense, OD. people are sitting up here. They actually try to compare apples and oranges. Ole Miss to LSU. Ole Miss is not in that realm of top college program. Excuse me. You got, and especially particularly in the SEC, you got Georgia, Alabama, LSU.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You could throw Texas in there. You could throw Oklahoma in there, and you could throw Tennessee in there. Florida as well.
I'm putting Florida over Tennessee.
Yes.
Tennessee, I mean, to be quite honest with you, to me, they're not a top tier SEC pro. They're a blue blood, but I wouldn't pick them over Florida. Florida just has a lot of things over Tennessee. Tennessee might have some more money in that coffers, but Florida has a better recruiting base and a better area. Like I like the swamp better than I like that checkerboard.
Yeah, most definitely. We're talking about Florida real quick. You look at Florida; they have the recruiting on their side. They have the recruits in that area in Florida. If you're John Summerall, you picked a pretty good job. I mean, people are crying. I've talked to Tulane fans. I've talked to fans in general, just like with Louisiana Lafayette when they lost Billy Napier to Florida. Now, hopefully, Florida is hoping that they'll have Billy Napier situation 2.0 with John Summerall, right? You're hoping that he doesn't come there because you look at Billy Napier, he went 22 and 23, if I recall correctly, in his time in Florida. He started the season off 3-4, which led to his firing. We're hoping that John Summerall, who went 42 and 11 at Tulane, he doesn't repeat the same thing Billy Napier has done. I think he has a good chance of having success at Florida, but it's going to start with that recruiting. He's going to be able to recruit not only the kids out of New Orleans, which is New Orleans has put out some great talent, but now you're getting that Florida breeding ground. You're also getting you can also sell the history, some Georgia, of course. So, and then you can also get some Alabama because Tulane has recruited. Looking at their recruiting numbers, they have recruited well in Alabama since he's been there in those 4 years, and in Texas. So he has a chance here to not repeat the history of Billy Napier and actually go on and have success at Florida. I do believe to get back to Lane Kiffin. Final thing I'm gonna say about that is Lane Kiffin. He knew, you look at how he recruited at Ole Miss, it was basically through the transfer portal. So to get those guys, to get those homegrown guys and not through the transfer portal, means a lot because you can recruit defense, which they had a problem doing at Ole Miss, which is rearing his ugly head. And it's just not me saying it, OD. Let's hear a little word from Nick Saban real quick. Let's see 1 second.
Number one. But I think Lane's decision is going to come down to one thing. And that thing is just what Marty said. Where is the place that I can recruit the best players? And I think, one of Lane's apprehensions is he's had to use the portal to build his team at Ole Miss each year. And at LSU, he probably could recruit better talent and then just supplement his team by need with the portal. And that's probably the dilemma that he has, as well as his loyalty to his team that he's coaching now, that he wants to be able to continue to coach. So that's.
And as Nick Saban just said there, folks, at Ole Miss, and just like I alluded to, they had to do a lot. Besides Ohio State, look at Ole Miss. They're one of the top 5 or top 10 teams, definitely really top 5, that had to go to that transfer portal just to get the players that they needed to supplement that team. At LSU, he's going to be able to recruit 5-star recruits. Think about it like this. Jakeem
out of high school.
Jakeem Stewart, who's from Reserve, Louisiana. He wanted to go to LSU. He's at USC now, true freshman, one of the star players on that defensive end. He wanted to come to LSU. They offered him $300,000 a year to come to LSU. USC offered him $750,000. OD. You could correct me if I'm wrong on that part, but he wanted LSU to come up at least to 5. You think LSU's former AD wanted to do that? Hell no. Which is another reason.
That is on Scott Woodward.
Thank you. He wanted this guy. He saw him as a freshman coming out of a guy coming out of high school. He didn't want to pay this guy. Now he look at him at USC, looking good. His last game, he had a total grade of 95.2. He was good against the run, and he was constantly putting pressure on the quarterback. And he's a true freshman. We see his measurements and everything like that. Man, it's crazy.
Sorry. And if you watch him too, which I watched him against UCLA, he looked the part of a first-round NFL draft. He looks like he's ready to go in the top 5 in the NFL draft this year. Yes. I'm sorry. I'll let you continue.
No. I totally agree, OD. And that's the thing. You know, when you have talent like that in your state and you miss out on that, and he goes across the country to the West Coast to play for a USC team, that, you know, hasn't sniffed the playoff, you know, hasn't put any defensive players in the first round since, I believe, Key Rivers. So you look at guys like you miss out on guys like that based off which has led to the AD losing his job as well, besides the whole Brian Kelly fiasco. But a guy like Lane Kiffin can rein those guys in based off of his recruiting technique. You're going to have, and also you got a guy like Ed Orgeron who already put out there in the universe. He said out his own mouth, if Lane Kiffin becomes the head coach, I definitely want to be part of that coaching staff. And we know that we both know that Ed Orgeron is a great recruiter. His recruiting technique, his ability to pull players from different areas, whether it's when he was at LSU, he was able to get guys from the West Coast. He was able to get guys from Florida, East Coast, also a couple guys from the Midwest. He's able to do well. What'd you say, OD?
Hold that time.
That's right. I mean, this was a great hire for LSU. I know the Ole Miss fans are salty right now. They're upset. But let's be honest here. Programs like Ole Miss can be good programs. Unfortunately, they don't have a history of being great. We look at let's look at Ole Miss. They went 11-1 this year, 10-2 last year, I believe. And they don't have the recruiting edge that's needed to have success in college football. And even if you're a player that's going to go to Ole Miss, you're looking at pro potential. How many pros can we say right now that's in the NFL that came from Ole Miss? I mean, I'll give you one. DK Metcalf.
AJ Brown. Shoot.
There you go. You know, you're sucking your teeth. You see, you're trying to figure out.
Well, Jackson Dart. I was going to say Jackson Dart, but I was trying to remember the wide receiver's name from Ole Miss last year, who went to the Chargers. I was trying to remember his name because he's been pretty good. But
wide receiver went to the Chargers. But I'm saying in terms of without Lane Kiffin.
Oh, you talking about pre-Lane?
Pre-Lane.
I mean, pre-Lane. I mean, they had some ballers here and there. You know what I'm saying? They had Mike. They had Dexter McCluster. He was a dog.
There's one name you're missing. There's one name you're missing.
I mean, I was trying to name somebody before Pat, but you know, since you won't just bring the
no. I'm gonna give you one. I'm gonna give you one name that Ole Miss kept crying. They was, as you say, OD, slapping their tails on the ground for.
Yeah, tapping their tails around.
Yeah. There was a guy named Robin Mkadishi, defensive tackle. Yes. He was a number 1 prospect coming out. He went to Ole Miss. He got drafted in the first round by the Arizona Cardinals. And OD, you remember how his career went?
Oh, Robert Mkadishi. Yes, I do remember how his career went. Matter of fact, I'm looking at his career right now because he's a little late with my Amazon package. So, we all remember how his career went.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. See, that's when you just got to take a laugh to yourself because, see, this is what I'm talking about. DK Metcalf, let's just say that's one of the better players that came out for them, right? He is an inconsistent player. inconsistent.
Yes, he is.
But that's neither here nor there. I think Lane, they brought him in here to win the big games, something that Brian Kelly could not do. Brian Kelly was 34-14 in his time at LSU. But unlike the past coaches that came before Brian Kelly, he didn't win the big game. He couldn't win against the Alabamas. He couldn't get to the national championship. The last three coaches prior to Brian Kelly all won a national championship. Nick Saban, Les Miles, and Ed Orgeron. Brian Kelly, yes, he can win 10 games in the season, but can he get you to the playoffs? Marcus Freeman with Notre Dame got them to the national championship. Now, of course, OD, I know there's things that you'll throw in there right quick as I finish up this last point that helped Marcus Freeman get to the national championship with Notre Dame that year, which was last year. But Brian Kelly could not win the games to get him what he needed to get to. And he's also a lazy coach. The reports show that. The things that he was supposed to do, he would delegate to other coaches. You're the head coach, man. The offense is looking bad. You're an offensive head coach. You should have took over play call. He was lazy. He didn't want to get rid of his offensive head coach. He didn't want to get rid of his offensive coach. And now they both looking for a job. Lane Kiffin, it's been reported he's bringing Charlie Weiss Jr. We know Charlie Weiss Sr. from his days at Notre Dame. Charlie Weiss Jr. is in the running for coordinator of the year because he's helped take a team that really doesn't have a great defense, but they've been so good offensively. Now, imagine merging that with LSU's current defense.
Well, to your point, number one, about Brian Kelly's record at LSU, he has 5 wins and 11 losses. And through the season, mind you, he didn't even finish his 4th season. He was in the middle of his 4th season. Here's how that 5-11 record came. His first season, he was 2-2 against ranked teams. He had wins against number 7 Ole Miss, number 6 Alabama, got smoked by number 8 Tennessee, and got his ass whooped at number 1 Georgia. The Georgia loss is okay. Tennessee is okay. It was early in the season. I remember those games. 2023, second year, 1-3. He had a win against number 21 Missouri, losses to number 8 Florida State, number 20 Ole Miss, and number 8 Alabama. Now, we remember that season. That was Jane Daniels' Heisman season. That big win against Missouri was on Missouri's, I believe, homecoming. Yes, it was during Missouri's homecoming.
Yes, it was.
The losses to number 8 Florida State. Again, first game of the season, Brian Kelly choked, couldn't change the offense. Lost at Ole Miss. Again, Brian Kelly choked, couldn't get the defense together, and we got smoked. Lost at number 8 Alabama. Jane Daniels got hurt sometime in the 4th quarter. Gary Nussmeier had to come in when the game was close. We ended up losing again because the defense gave up 42 points to a quarterback who could not throw the ball.
Exactly.
2024. And I'll bring up 2024 and highlight it because I remember before the season, Brian Kelly kept saying the third year is when his teams always turn it around and get better. They were 1-3 against ranked teams that year, which was last season.
Yes.
They lost. Who the hell? Okay, this win-loss thing is kind of messed up. But, yeah, because they're missing Ole Miss on here. Okay, their only top 25 win against the ranked team last year was against Ole Miss. They beat Ole Miss at home, classic game, lights blue. Kyron Lacey, God rest his soul, caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime. Lost against USC at the beginning of the season. Close game, could have won. The offense stalled in the 4th quarter when the defense started getting stops and turnovers. Lost to Alabama last year. Matter of fact, got their ass whooped against Alabama last year at home because they couldn't stop Jalen Hurts in the rain. I can't stand the rain. And then this season, bringing it to this season. Oh, and you can't forget that ass whooping against Texas A&M when Texas A&M came to the blackout game. Instead of wearing the classic white jersey with the gold pants, you had to go all white to try to counteract the fucking all black. Up in the first half, or really whooping their ass until they made a slight change to Marcel Reed, who threw, I believe, a total of 5 freaking passes that entire second half, and they beat your brains in 28-7 in the third quarter. You got smoked in that third quarter. Of course, that was indicative again of this season because in 2025, Brian Kelly, in half a season this time, record timing for this numbnuts, he finished 1-3 again against ranked teams. With the lone win coming early in the season against number 4 Clemson, who we all see now is just a complete fraud and belly flopped on the entire season. Losses against Ole Miss at Ole Miss, in which your defense kept you in the game, but because Brian Kelly is such a lazy bastard and didn't want to get involved in the play calling on offense, their offense kept stalling in the third and fourth quarter when they really could have kicked it up a notch, started putting points on the board and putting pressure on Ole Miss. But they couldn't do that.
Exactly.
Loss against Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt again. The defense gave up some points in the first half, tightened it up, didn't allow any points from the middle of the third quarter until the end of the game. You know what the offense did after that? Not a goddamn thing. They didn't move the ball, 3 and outs back and forth, didn't put any pressure on Vanderbilt, and they choked. And then, of course, the infamous 49-25 game against Texas A&M, in which you went into halftime again, beating Texas A&M. You were up in that game in the first half. And what does Brian Kelly manage to do? As always, he managed to snatch a loss out of the grasp of victory because his defense got ramrolled in the third quarter.
Right.
It's like, okay, cool, I get it. You start off, you give up a touchdown in the first half after the second half because for some reason Blake Baker doesn't know how to stop a quarterback who knows how to run the ball but can't throw the ball. So you give up an early touchdown in the third quarter. Cool. The offense comes out. Do you think they get a couple first downs and then punt the ball? Nah. Not a Brian Kelly offense. That's too much like what that you're begging them at that point to do the right thing. And they can't do the right thing. So he did the wrong thing. That numbnuts went out there and did a 3 and out. Punted the ball, punt return for a touchdown, game bust wide open like Cherokee in the early 2000s.
Nope. Still Jonas the head coach. Defensive coordinator.
So to be real with you, I can't really blame the defensive coordinator.
Nope.
Even though they gave up a lot of points in that game, the offense didn't help them at all. No complimentary football. And in the first half, when they were holding Texas A&M down, y'all still didn't do anything. Y'all didn't do anything when they got your turnovers, 3 and outs, nothing. Just lazy, disgusting behavior from this chump. But to go back to Lane Kiffin, and you talked about the talent difference at LSU and Ole Miss, that these cream puff Ole Miss fans seem to not be able to fathom. As Lane Kiffin said a couple weeks ago in a press conference, he has no starters who are Mississippi-born players, and 17 of his 22 starters are from Louisiana. So if I'm Lane Kiffin, it's weird that I would have to ask the same question myself. Ole Miss does not get all of the premier top players from the state of Louisiana. That's true. They usually get the tertiary players that LSU doesn't want, or maybe LSU told them that I want to play you at a different position, so they didn't want to go to LSU because of the head coach and things like that, which is cool. And I understand that. But at the same time, what sense does it make? What sense? If this dude has all of these things going on and he can't get the talent he wants there, everything else, and he always has to have a back seat to what's going on, as far as talent goes out of the state of Louisiana, because he has to recruit talent from the state of Louisiana at Ole Miss because he can't get the top dogs from Louisiana. So he gets the guys in the high school ranks who are second tier. He also gets the second tier guys out of the transfer portal from Louisiana who Brian Kelly will pass on. So if I'm him, why won't I just go straight to the source of the crack if I'm going to do that?
Right. Sorry about that, OB. I had dropped out.
No, you good. You good.
Sorry about that.
Anyway, to continue this point, what do you think will happen next as far as LSU and the hiring of their assistant coaches under this Lane Kiffin staff? And what are some of the things that you hear are going to happen?
Well, I mean, you already got Charlie Weiss Jr. coming on as the offensive coordinator. So you got that covered. Lane Kiffin has been said to be one of the top offensive minds in college football. People say, I've heard quotes from Ole Miss fans, wait till he leaves you when NFL comes calling. First off, Lane Kiffin was already in the NFL. I don't think he wants to go. He failed in the NFL. It was to Alabama. Alabama has already made it known that they don't want him. So let's go ahead and stop that foolishness. What program can you say that he's going to leave and go to? We're not even see. That's the thing. The difference between LSU or big programs in general versus small programs. You're more worried about when he leaves. We're more worried about when he wins. See, that's the big difference here. When Alabama got Kellen, they would. I mean, of course, they missed Nick Saban, but the standard was already set. We have to win a national title. We have to be one of the top programs in the country. We can't sit here and talk about when he leaves or whatever the case may be. We're worried about winning now. See, small programs are worried about the other things. Big programs are worried about winning. This player needs to come to our program. How much does coach need to come to our program? Lane Kiffin going forward. Now, it's yet to be seen if he's going to keep the defense coordinator. I think he's already bringing the strength and conditioning coach from Ole Miss. He's bringing him to LSU. Offensive coordinator he's bringing with him. I think it will behoove him to keep Coach Wilson. You keep Coach Frank. One, he helps recruiting in Louisiana and other states as well. And I also think you should keep your D-line coach. D-line, I would try to keep that whole defensive staff intact. You got Coach Raymond, you got defensive coordinator, you got a defensive line coach. I would keep those guys intact and just build upon that if I'm Lane Kiffin. So you have to build on that if you're Lane Kiffin to continue to build your program. I don't think that people look at it and say, "Hey, look, we need to change the whole situation here." Just build upon what I would bring. If I'm him, I'm bringing my own guys in there. I wouldn't even think twice about that. Bring your own guys in, offensive side of the ball. You have pieces on offense, which you can build. If you got to have the right defensive coordinator. I think the defensive coordinator will stay if Lane wants him, but we'll have to see. I mean, that's totally up to him and how he picks his coaching staff. But if I'm him, you need to keep that defensive coordinator, the defensive line coach, the linebackers coach, the secondary coach. So in order to build a greater team and what you're looking for. I think LSU can get in that tier of Georgia, Alabama if they build this team the right way going forward. But it all depends. It just depends. It depends on a lot of things. But
Sorry about that.
recruiting is there.
That was live from Baton Rouge Airport, where new LSU coach Lane Kiffin just landed, and fans are outside watching his caravan roll by, and Lane Kiffin jumped out and started pumping his fists in the air. Man, it is a good time to be a Tiger fan. But I do feel bad for the Ole Miss fans out there, to be quite honest with you. Um, I had a couple family members go to Ole Miss, um, and you know, do a couple football things. Had a couple friends who played at Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss personally, but that's the nature of the beast. Um, Now you can't sit up there and be mad at Lane Kiffin for going to a different job, and I don't want to say choosing up, but you know trying to find a better situation for himself. So I understand that, but I think he's I think Lane's in a great situation. Um, I like the situation he's in. I like how LSU got aligned, and really, I like how Ole Miss got aligned. And even though the fans are pretty salty about everything, I like the fact that Ole Miss said, you know what, we're just gonna hire Pete Golding. He's done a great job with the defense here. He wants to be here. He wants to coach at Ole Miss. We have the infrastructure here, and we're just gonna align behind that guy. I appreciate that. You took a lot of time. You missed out on John Summerall, mostly because you played around with Lane Kiffin and going back and forth. When honestly, since last Wednesday, you guys knew he was going to LSU, but you tried to play the ultimatum game to try to get him to stay, in which, to be honest with you, it's not a bad game to play. I appreciate that game, uh, but it didn't work. You win some, you lose some. And the fact that you are relying upon Alabama losing to Auburn at the Iron Bowl to get the head coach that you wanted says a lot about your program. Ole Miss is a great school. Ole Miss has a lot of great people that go there, that are from there. They have a great alumni association. They have a great fan base. Difference is Ole Miss, the Grove, or whatever you call your stadium, had their highest attendance for a game when the University of Florida came to town to play Ole Miss this year. They had 68,000 people in the stands. That's great. That's phenomenal. Love it. Death Valley has seats about 107,000 people. Death Valley that same weekend was playing against Arkansas in a game in which they didn't really care anything about. The fans didn't really care about Arkansas. LSU didn't really care about Arkansas. But at the same time, they still, in a game that no one cared about, had 75,000 fans at, and it looked half empty. LSU's a better program. They're a bigger program. And I'm sorry, Ole Miss. I don't know what you guys are going to do. Looks like AD's dropped down. Let me see if I can get him back really quick. Anyway, so let's get to some more parts of these coaching hires and what LSU is looking for. LSU, I believe under Kiffin, they're probably going to keep most of the defensive staff. Blake Baker did a phenomenal job. Corey Raymond did a hell of a job, although they had a lot of pushback from some LSU media members. I think not a lot that really mattered anyway. But some media members had pushback, even though he was great when he was here. Coach O is coming back. Although I think Coach O should really be more in an advisory role to Kyle Williams, more of an assistant coach to Lane Kiffin than an overall defensive line coach if he wants to jump in to the coaching carousel at all with LSU. Heard in a couple of group chats earlier that they knew that Coach Coach O and Lane Kiffin were coming to LSU since about Monday this week because Ed Orgeron packed up everything from his house in Miami, where he was apparently laid up with a couple of them OG Edo women peoples, and said, you know what? I got to go back down there. I got to help my boy go and get the Tigers back together. But just looking at this situation overall, I think it was a great thing. Hopefully they retain Blake Breaker as well. I believe they'll keep Frank Wilson on in some kind of role, especially since he did so phenomenal with keeping this recruiting class together for the most part. I mean, LSU lost a couple of recruits in the process, but hey, to say you haven't had a head coach in a month and you just lost 2 recruits, that says a hell of a lot about the culture of this place, what we have going on at this place, especially looking at what happened at Penn State. I mean, James Franklin got hired at Virginia Tech and immediately flipped 4 recruits from Penn State straight to Virginia Tech where he was at. I mean, come on, bro. That just says a lot about the culture around here, the people we got around here, and what the hell we got going on, bro. Hey, you back? AD, can you hear me? Well, sound like AD still got some issues with his microphone over there, but we're going to keep this thing rolling and talk about some SEC coaching hires in general that's going on right now. John Summerall at Florida, love it. Heard that John Summerall went there last Wednesday, was very upset about the fact that he got out, that he visited Florida last Wednesday. He wanted to keep it on the hush. He wanted to keep it on the low. And another component people didn't talk about with this John Summerall thing is, hey, Tulane is in a running for a college playoff spot right now. I know people don't want to talk about it.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
But Lane Kiffin isn't the only one who's leaving a playoff team right now. That's all I'll say. Lane Kiffin's not the only one doing it. And no one's talking about John Summerall leaving Tulane because Florida is a better job. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. But at the same time, we're not going to sit up here and act like it's just, oh, nothing's happening. And he's just such a great guy. And, Florida got a great coach, even though they had to jump their punk asses to the G5 in Louisiana again. But at least this time they got them a playoff coach instead of just old rinky-dink Sunbelt Billy. Sunbelt Billy! So, I don't know, son. I mean, I like John Summerall. I really like John Summerall. It makes it sound like I kind of half hate him. But I really like John Summerall. I think John Summerall's a great coach, like for real. The dude's good. He's smart. He's tough. He recruits well. He's going to work his ass off. He's going to make Florida a much tougher, better program. Will he be able to recruit at the same level as Billy Napier did? I don't know, because old Sunbelt Billy, if he couldn't do anything else, Duke could recruit his ass off. Now, if you gave him a playbook and a couple X's and O's, the boy couldn't play tic-tac-toe. But he could recruit like a mug as soon as he got in that living room with mommy and daddy. And he ate that nasty gumbo or whatever casserole they made, you dig? But, AD, if you can hear me and you back in studio, what you think about everything? Well, look like he done dropped off again. I'm gonna go ahead and keep the show rolling. And let's go to a couple other spots to see who else has gotten hired and this crazy coaching carousel in SEC. I'm glad that everybody got their stuff together. I'm glad that a lot of guys who we didn't know they were gonna go got to in my opinion, some better situations, especially Pete Golden, especially John Summerall, who I think John Summerall is going to kill it at Florida. Florida is one of those places, one of those schools that if you can stand the BS and the whininess of Florida's fan base and how goofy some of them can be with some of their expectations, they have a stupid amount of talent down there in Florida and around the Gainesville area. Stupid amount. If you can get that place in line for just a couple years at a time or something like that, hey, brother, you can win something out here. You can win something out here. You can do great things at Florida. But you still got to deal with some of their BS. Because it's Florida, some of their fan base is going to be a little a little bit off their rocker. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. That's the path you chose. And you know what? To be 100% honest with you, bro, if John Summerall does anything close to what he did at Tulane, recruiting, relationship-wise, and can get that offense together, because that defense is great at Florida this year. They just need to get that offense together. I see Florida competing for a national championship in the next 3 or 4 seasons. Hell, maybe not next season, because it's kind of a shit show. It was low-key a bigger shit show than LSU, although nobody really wanted to talk about it because the freaking governor of Louisiana got involved in this for some reason, instead of doing his job and governing his state. But what are you going to do about it? But yeah, they were an absolute shit show out there in Florida. They're clamoring to fire their athletic director right now, saying that he messed up the Lane Kiffin hiring, and which, to be quite honest with you, if you look at all the reports, everything that went on, Lane Kiffin was only considering Florida until LSU went to the picture. If you go back behind some of these timelines, listen to a few people that you know, go in a couple of these group chats and a few of these spaces, you'll hear what we all heard in that. Lane Kiffin considered Florida because it was technically a better job than Ole Miss, because it would be easier to acquire talent there from the high school level. But as an overall job, he didn't see it as better than Big Daddy LSU. And that's a fact. And to be quite honest with you, anybody with common sense and 2 brain cells can tell you that that's not a better job. Number one, even though Florida has a stupid amount of talent in that state, like ridiculous, like as far as football talent, they're second to maybe Texas and just overall talent. They might put out more recruits than California, but I think they have more quality recruits than California. But as far as the talent in Florida goes, even though it's that high, number one, Florida, you're not even number one in the billing in your own state as far as schools that talent wants to go to. That's the U, brother. And then Florida State, and then you. And then even when it comes to recruiting, outside of the state of Florida, everybody come in your trap and take over. LSU come down there and grab something. Bama definitely comes down there and snatch something out the cookie jar. Ohio State always got their hands all in the Kool-Aid. You know what I'm saying? Georgia flagrantly comes down there and snatches up a defensive end, defensive tackle whenever they want to. So no, Florida. Yes, Florida's a great recruiting state. Phenomenal. And just because it's a great recruiting state doesn't mean that you have access to all that talent. Not the way that LSU has access to all the talent in Louisiana. And if we're going to be honest, it's not even just Louisiana. Because of location, all the talent in South Mississippi is closer to LSU than it is to Alabama, Auburn, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. So from about Pensacola, Florida, to about Houston, Texas, LSU, quite honestly, is big dog in town if you're looking at footprint, if we want to be honest. And then if we want to bring in Katrina and the impact that having a lot of people from South Louisiana move all over this particular region means that everybody in this region, from about, again, Pensacola to Houston, Texas, especially in Houston, Texas, there are a lot of Katrina babies there. There are a lot of people who were born, whose families, mothers, fathers, whatever, were born and raised in New Orleans, Houma, Hammond, the North Shore in general of the Louisiana area, and still have heavy Louisiana ties, who've been coming to Louisiana to New Orleans for their entire lives, for family reunions, for Thanksgivings, for Christmas, for Mardi Gras. So they're very familiar with the area. They have a lot of people down here, and they see this state, this institution of LSU, as the number one on their board, and they're not worried about anybody else. And to be quite honest with you, that's the same thing in Atlanta, Georgia, because a lot of people from New Orleans moved to Atlanta. So because we're such a huge transplant place, and because we have a lot of people all over the place, there are a lot of people, especially football players, who you people don't even want to acknowledge, just like people in Houston are fighting the fact that CeeDee Lamb is from Louisiana like it's some secret. Oh, he played prep ball and all this other stuff in Houston. Yes, because his mother moved out there for Hurricane Katrina. They didn't move out there organically, Goofy. So again, to the Florida fans of it all, I get that Florida has, the state of Florida to recruit in, and the state of Florida is great. But because of all the other obstacles, it's definitely not as good of a recruit of a job as LSU is. And I don't care what any Florida fan says. The first thing they always point to is we have 500,000 living alumni. LSU only has 250,000. All those alumni do not donate to NIL or anything to the school, number one. Number two, goofy goobers. If we look at impact, you look at the MLB, who just won the Cy Young Award? Oh, Paul Skeens. Who was the largest NIL maker in college athletics until she graduated from LSU about a year ago? Livy Dunn. Who's the best receiver in the NFL? Jamar Chase. Second best, Justin Jefferson. Who's the biggest personality on ESPN Sports right now's NBA coverage, pumping up their school constantly? Shaquille O'Neal. As a matter of fact, where'd you stop and grab you a couple chicken fingers from before you went home to your wife this evening? Raising Cane's. Come on now, brothers and sisters and them and theys. Let's not be unreasonable here. You keep talking about this 500,000 living alumni. Florida, the Florida Gators, have 500,000 Instagram followers. You know how many LSU has? 1 million. What are you talking about impact for? If you can't even get the people to follow you, brothers. If you can't get them to donate to your school, brothers. You know what LSU did when they saw they didn't have alignment with the athletic director after he mistakenly fired the head coach of the football team without consulting the board directors first? They fired his ass and got alignment. They got a university president about 2 weeks later. They removed the interim tag from the athletic director and just made him the acting athletic director. They got aligned. You know what Florida didn't do in that whole thing? Get alignment. Oh, we'll pay, if LSU will pay him $95 million, we'll pay him for $95 million. Okay, what about the $25 million he's going to need guaranteed in NIL? Well, all you hear is and ums. And we know Florida got money, so I'm not saying Florida don't have money. All I'm saying is y'all want to line from this and y'all didn't get alignment. Now, truth be told, to be quite honest with you, I think the thing that helped LSU get alignment, if Jeff Landry's ugly, musty, bald head ass running out there and saying what he's saying in the public. Talking about I'd let Donald Trump make the head coaching hire before I would let Scott Woodward do it. And we're just like, okay, I get it. You know, you're a Republican. You got to placate to the dude who, trying to get your little monkey, musty ass a job. But at the same time, Shut your punk ass up.
Can you hear
Please.
me, OD?
Yeah, I can hear you. But let me
Yeah,
finish.
man, you preaching better than I'm shouting, brother. You preaching better than I'm shouting, brother. Sorry, I had a little family issue.
It's cool. It's cool. I hear, baby girl. Let me finish executing these fraudulent, fake Florida fans who
Do
ran
your
they
thing,
musty, dusty, busted, disgusting behinds out here, constantly saying this same stupid, disgusting thing, talking about his decision's imminent. Stay close to your phones this Saturday. Why? We don't got nothing's gonna happen. Since Tim Tebow left, y'all have been bad, down bad. Appreciate John Summerall. Stop worrying about Lane Kiffin. Stop acting like the ex who somebody broke up with, like the broken up sad side chick, talking about he's gonna be gone a couple years anyway. He leaves everywhere. What you worrying about the girl for, brother? You didn't
She
get
gone, brother.
brother.
She gone. She gone.
You up there trying to get chosen. You're mad that she was choosing. That's your problem, brother. You brother sitting up here looking bad. Y'all walked around here strutting that nasty ass gator stuff, wearing them nasty ass alligator belts, talking about we got Gatorade money. Boy, we got cane money, boy. We got the crawfish money down here, boy.
That's right. Talk about it.
Come to the ball, boy. We balling gator tonight, boy. Ole Miss, I'm cool. I understand Ole Miss. I'm cool with where Ole Miss at. You want to know why I'm cool where Ole Miss at? Because Ole Miss lost their coach during the playoff run. So I have sympathy for them. Like, I get it. Lane Kiffin, he chose a better program overall. And he also probably felt like he couldn't win it this year anyway at Ole Miss. They won't win that.
They won't win the national championship. They won't win the national championship.
And I get that certain people are saying this, but dog, number one, if you just go look at draft boards, it'll tell you where talent lies, brother.
That's right.
LSU has one player projected to be a first-round pick, Mansour Delane. You know who was the two top teams suiting him? LSU and Ole Miss. You want to know how we knew? Before those reports came out this week, because you know Ole Miss got a little salty because they was mad at how Mansour Delane looks, because Lane Kiffin was talking about it early this season. Because they asked him how much defensive coordinator costs, and he said about as much as one of those LSU defensive backs costs. Dude was salty that he didn't get chose, and he said, "You know what? I'm trying to get with somebody who getting chose around here." That's what he said. LSU be getting chose.
That's right.
That's what Lane said. LSU be getting chose. Ole Miss don't be getting chose.
Ole Miss is the woman you call at 2:00 in the morning.
No, I'm gonna tell you who Ole Miss is, because Ole Miss ain't the woman in this.
Oh,
Ole Miss is the dude who be in the friend zone because he got all the stuff that a woman like.
Come on,
kind of lame. He a little lame. You know what I'm saying? He a little lame.
That's right.
So she knows she don't want to be with a lame dude who won't have no clout or respect from other men. But when the other men misuse him, treat him wrong, you go out there to hold piss. You know what I'm saying? Get your swagger back. Get your little draft stock up. And shit, if the motherfucker tricking, like they did last year with Walter Nolan and a couple other pieces on that defense, if the motherfucker tricking, you go out there and take that bread, Jeremy.
That's right. No, that New Orleans coming about you, brother. That New Orleans coming about you, brother.
but I digress. Because again, Ole Miss, I can at least respect where they're coming from because they lost. You did.
Right, I understand that.
Florida, you messed up from the beginning hiring old Sunbelt Billy.
Right.
And that's my whole problem with y'all dudes, is y'all keep talking this big money-ish, and I don't see nothing big money about you, brothers.
Come on, brother, preach.
Y'all keep going to the bargain bin every time. Eli Drinkwitz, y'all could have went after him before he signed with Missouri. He didn't sign his extension with Missouri until Friday.
Yes.
Y'all knew since the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, a week and a half ago at this point, that the lane chain wasn't coming to Gainesville. Y'all knew that. You want to know how we all knew? Because y'all was flying John Summerall out there around then. You know who didn't fly no other bitch out to their house? LSU didn't. We knew the hoe was coming over. We knew the draws was dropping, nigga. That's what happened if you know that. We knew the draws were dropping.
Reach.
Florida didn't know a goddamn thing. So you know what you did?
There was left
You
waiting
called
at
the
the
big
door.
girl. You called the big girl with a pretty face at about 2 a.m. and said, "Come on through."
Come on through.
Which is cool.
Come on through. Matter of fact, you don't even let her come to your house. You go to her crib because you don't even want her to know where you stay.
No. That's the crazy part. That's the crazy part. In this situation, the big girl came over there and mad that she had to walk to the door instead of you come and meet her at the car. That's why John Summerall got mad. Because you didn't want to meet the big girl you didn't want to walk the big girl to the house. You want to just come around the back of the house, you dig? Follow the trail of granola bars around. Granola bars?
I know that's the problem. You don't eat no granola bars. You need to get you some protein shakes. You know what I'm saying? Put the fried chicken down. Eat the protein shakes. Because my Lord, have mercy. If you get a protein shake instead of eating all that fried chicken, you might be somebody. You know,
I'll say this.
Go ahead, brother.
I'll say this. John Summerall, I won't even say is a big girl who with a pretty face who ain't got no hope. John Summerall is the big girl with a pretty face. She just work a lot and don't really know how to go to she just been mismanaged.
Right. She been mismanaged.
If Florida could just get help get her stuff together, she'll be all right. Matter of fact, y'all can help each other. It'll be a beautiful cornucopia marriage type situation around here. You know what I'm saying?
Right, of course.
The message I have to Florida fans is don't be mad you didn't get chose. Work on a relationship with the one that came over at 2 a.m. and she didn't ask you to fix a bond for her. You know what I'm saying? She came over there because she wanted to be there. She was just mad you put all her business out in the streets. That's what she was mad about. You mad you put all the business out. You didn't have to do all that. That's nasty work, brother. That's nasty work. And you know, while I think John Summerall gonna do a good job out there, while I think Florida is a great job, a top 10 job in the country, to be real with you, at its best.
It really is. The Florida fans don't get offended. It is a top 10 job.
No. Florida fans get offended. Y'all need to be offended right now. Fuck all that. Y'all need to be offended. That's the problem. Y'all ain't had no offense to nothing for the longest. Y'all just been running around here whining, crying, denying the situation that y'all had going on. You just constantly got your feelings, got butthurt, got mad, kept saying stuff that was gonna happen, kept talking in definitives. You know what I like? Guarantees. And you know what y'all should have did? As soon as Lane hesitated, as soon as Lane pump fake, when LSU came in the picture, y'all should, man, fuck that. I'll move on to the next one. That's what y'all should have did. Then y'all could have got somebody. But instead, you kept pump faking because you scared. Are you scared of getting rejected again?
Come on, brother.
That ain't how the players do. Players play.
Player don't worry about the pump faking. Players play. Win. That's right. Win is win.
That's what you do. You go out there and you dominate.
That's right.
You don't sit up there and worry about what somebody else got going on. You mad because Lane went somewhere else. Dude, get over yourself.
That's right.
Lane didn't want to come to Florida. First of all, y'all knew before Brian Kelly came to LSU that Lane wanted to come to LSU because he was openly campaigning for the job when he was trying to hire Brian Kelly.
Come on.
What you do since then? That he been looking. So what you worried about it for, brother? Once you saw them fire Brian Kelly, the first thing you should have did was sit back in the cut and see what he did. See how he was looking. See what he paid attention to. Right. And as soon as you saw that he started looking to the Bayou, to Baton Rouge, to the boot, you should have got to stepping, brother.
That's right.
But instead, you played around, now you lay around. Now you hire another G5 coach, Granted, at least Tulane might go to the playoffs this time instead of getting Sun Belt Billy again. You losers, you chumps, get offended, get mad, and get over yourself.
That's right. That's right. Even baby girl agreeing with you. You on point, brother. Hold on, bro. We gotta do this for you, brother. We got to, because the way you just was rolling just now, brother. Goddamn, you know,
That's
on
what
the
I'm
road.
talking about.
You know, so let me do this one more time. You know, because my goodness. All right, baby girl. All right. See, baby girl even waiting on us. But that's the point, man. Is that
But you know what?
They didn't even
bro?
pivot to a better coach.
I'm sorry. Instead of appreciating what they got, all you hear is a bunch of dudes in the swamp sitting up there, laying on their porch, opening their mouth and doing a whole bunch of this. That's all they doing because they losers.
Right. That's all they doing. That's all they doing. One more time, OD.
They just sitting back there, sipping that nasty moonshine that's making them go blind as a bat, about to jump on that sailboat, gator nippling on the ankle, about to put their rifle in their mouth and go, I'll see you later, Mom. Knocking themselves out.
The biggest thing Florida got right now, besides no taxes, no state taxes, is they waiting on Grand Theft Auto to come out. Other than that, we know they ain't
exactly. You waiting on a Grand Theft Auto game in a place that nobody even wanted to come. Losers.
Right.
Losers.
Lose. It was second, third.
Florida losers.
Choice. If you look at Rockstar, go on their website, Florida was the third choice. They wanted to do Louisiana first. The other place they wanted to do was back in LA, but they already did that already. So they chose Florida as the third choice. Like losers, man.
Always the girlfriend.
Never the wife. Never the wife.
Always. That's what you are. You wasn't even the wife to the one who won 2 national championships there, brother.
Right. Got gold from Ohio State came knocking.
Nigga.
That's right.
He faked a heart attack and left. Think about that. He won 2 national championships there, had his own touchdown Jesus and Tim Tebow, and he faked heart attacks and left for Ohio State. He chose up, nigga. That's why you mad, because you always getting chose up on. I'll be mad too. Except who choosing up on you right now is down the street. You can understand Ohio State because they far away. They're not going to affect you. You won't see them to the national championship or the playoffs. But guess what? You know what? Y'all losers sat up there and kept crying. You didn't improve. You didn't do better. Oh, we got great facilities. We have top-notch staff. We're in Florida, fertile recruiting grounds. You know what else is fertile? The ground after all this started happening. Because all y'all do is quit. As soon as the going get tough, Florida quit. Y'all boys soft, man. Y'all boys soft. It is what it is. You saw what Mississippi State did? Had the thing, told him get the stepping, which y'all wouldn't do because y'all wouldn't have the balls to do it. Your AD soft. Had all this confidence out here as far as 3 or 4 days ago, have Florida fans and media personalities lying to the fan base, talking about it's about a 65% chance that he comes to Florida when y'all knew he wasn't coming there. Y'all was sitting up there just trying to save face instead of moving on with the conversation because you didn't do your jobs. What Bill Belichick say? Do your job. That's what y'all did not do. It's your job. And it's sad, bro, because y'all boys didn't know what y'all was doing out here. Y'all didn't know. Hopefully y'all do better. Hopefully you get your recruiting class together this year. Hopefully John Summerall does everything and gets who he needs in the transfer portal. Because guess what? Despite everything I'm saying, you know who my favorite op is in the SEC? It's not Ole Miss. They are our biggest rival. It's not Mississippi State. We just whoop on their ass whenever we get a chance. It's not Arkansas. We don't really care about them. We just snatch a big gold boot from them every year and stick it right up their candy asses. It's Florida. Florida is our favorite out. We in the bayou, y'all in the swamp. We Tigers, y'all Gators. It's
That's
all
right.
love and respect and mutual hate around here.
That's
It's
right.
mutual hate. The hate is
Mutual.
mutual. I hate y'all and I love y'all. You funky, filthy swamp creatures. But it's cool.
That's
though.
right. When we see them, you know what time it is.
When you see us, you know what time it is. It's time for y'all to bend over and get whooped, nigga. That's it. Same thing as COVID. You know what time it is.
Right.
Y'all remember
That's
COVID?
Right.
Y'all ranked number 7 in the country, possibly going to the playoffs, all this other good stuff. Y'all come to the Death Valley, and guess what? Y'all playoff shots down the drain. Get up out my face, dog. Don't tell me nothing.
That's right, OD. Tell him, OD. Tell him, OD.
Florida Gator. Them Florida Gator. Them Florida Gator. Guess what? Go sit down somewhere. Y'all boys sweet. Get up out of here, boy.
Let me tell you something, OD. You know, before this whole Lane Kiffin picks LSU, I had a debate with a Florida fan, and he's telling me, last since 2004, they have a top 10 class all those years. No, brother. I went all the way back, several recruiting cycles, and they've only had 7 top 10 classes in 15 years, 15, 16 years. So my whole thing is LSU's had 13. 13.
And I
One more time. 13.
I guarantee you, the only time they didn't have a top 10 recruiting class were years of coaching changes. I can guarantee you that. I don't even look at that, and I know LSU was going through coaching changes. Recruits decommitted. LSU didn't have a top recruiting class. That's literally how the only way LSU was not going to get a top 10 recruiting class in today's day and age of college football.
Yes. When they're going through a transitional phase. And even in this year, they've gone through a transition with their AD, and they fired the head coach, and here comes Lane Kiffin. See, this is when you have a big program. Ole Miss will never understand this.
No, not big program. That's when Big Daddy come in the house. That's when Big Daddy come in the house and take off them boots. You see them work boots, you see the dust come off them bitches. That's what happened with Big Daddy walking that house. Everybody get to stepping.
That's right. Get to step.
Everybody take a little bass out their voice. You get that little frog in your throat until he crack a joke because you won't make sure what mood he in before you open your mouth. Yeah, Florida. Get out. Big Daddy walked in the house, kicked his boots, shook the dust off them bitches. And you know what y'all said? Let's see what Big Daddy said first. Let's see what kind of mood Big Daddy is. I ain't trying to upset him. That's right. What Florida said.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. That's SEC football.
That's SEC football.
That's the top of there's the top of the class. There's the middle class, and then there's the pro class. Right? It's just like it's like society. The top in football, and the only reason they're ahead of us because they're ahead of LSU because they've won so many national championships in their football program. And that's Alabama, Georgia. And Georgia really within the last, 5-10 years have gotten to that cusp. Prior to that, they were just Georgia was getting beat down every year. So based off of recent history, of course they knew.
Georgia was the original bridesmaid, never the bride. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Until Kirby Smart got there.
Thank you. And I have to always remind Georgia fans of that. You were nothing prior to Kirby Smart. You were one of the doormats of the SEC. It was LSU, Alabama.
I can't agree with you there. They wasn't a doormat under Mark Richt. They weren't a doormat. They were a great program that could never get over the hump. They couldn't. There's no way possible in one season they had AJ Green, Matthew Stafford, no Sean Moreno, and they didn't win a national championship. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's what you are now, Florida. You can come to the wedding. You can eat the cake. You can eat the cake. You can stand for the photos, but you don't get the ring.
You don't get the ring.
Sorry. You don't get the ring.
You know, you'll be a beautiful bride. But no.
No, you look great as a bridesmaid. You look good in that dress. Matter of fact, you should buy that dress once we leave here. Don't bring that back to the little suit and tux and dress rental place. You got
that you rent it for $100. Right.
It look good on you. That bridesmaid dress look real good on you, but that's what you are. You're not a bride. I'm sorry to tell you. Sorry. Or not, whatever. Get over yourselves. Grow up. Build a bridge, get over it, brothers. Anyway, moving along. Since we got AD back, what you think about Ole Miss hiring the gentleman that they hired?
So you got to catch me up on this, OD. Who did Ole Miss end up hiring? Was it the guy they
ended up hiring their current defensive coordinator, Pete Golden, who they called a Mississippi.
So they actually went through with it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, Pete Golden. My goodness. Let me do a little quick search on this guy. So, from my understanding, Pete Golden is a 41-year-old guy. His only other coaching experience is at Alabama. He was defense coordinator, I believe. Had been there since 2019. So he cut his teeth with at Alabama and went to Lane. Here's the thing. And I heard what you said earlier about the Ole Miss. They're saying they got the guy they really wanted, and he's an Ole Miss guy and all this other type of malarkey. If he was coaching which he was the defensive coordinator of Ole Miss, and and as I said earlier, that's one of their weaknesses is their defense. So if you think hiring him is the best option, you are sadly mistaken. They're about to go right back to them 84 days, 7-5, and they're gonna run him out of town because unless he gets a hell of an offensive coordinator, and even just that, he doesn't coach well on defense. This ain't Alabama. Recruits. The whole thing is, how are you going to say this is the guy you wanted? Y'all were complaining all season about the defense. He was the defensive coordinator. So how can you sit up there and say this is the guy we always wanted, but then y'all complain all season about his defense? How they were undisciplined, missing tackles. They didn't understand. They will mess up their assignments on call plays. And you telling me this is the guy you wanted? Yeah, that's a coping mechanism, brother. See, what I'm seeing here is one thing and one thing only.
What's that?
It's like the girl who wanted the guy who ended up marrying her friend. She'll say, you know what? He's a good guy, but he just wasn't for me. My person is still out there, and all this other bullshit that is coping mechanisms. It is a coping mechanism. Ole Miss was so caught up on Lane Kiffin and putting his feet to the fire on making the decision because they could have drugged this out until after the play, or at least until after the playoffs. They could have drugged it out if they wanted to. I don't think LSU would have waited that long. They could have drug it out, but they knew at that point. Let me tell you something. I learned this from an old player. If your woman, I'm not going to call Lane Kiffin a woman, but this is an example. If your woman is out there looking, you already lost her. She's gone.
She looked, she already took.
She already took. That's right.
If she looked, she took. That's that old pimp game for you, player.
That's right. If she looked, she took. That's why if you get in the pimp game, and I ain't never been no pimp, but I'll say this: I learned, I've heard guys talking and been around them. If a woman, the hoe or the woman, quote unquote, is never supposed to look into the eyes of a pimp. Why? Because that's called, that's a form of disrespect to the former, the present pimp. You understand what I'm saying? So he was looking already. He didn't. Ole Miss, like I said, Ole Miss is a stepping stone. It was a project. It was a boosting board for him to get the job that he really wanted. He didn't want to go to Ole Miss as his first choice. And for those who play NCAA on football, on whatever console you may use, think about it like this: when you do dynasty mode, right, and you have a great season at a program, and you get your coaching offers, right, in dynasty mode. Unless the school's up there that you really want up there, you not really necessarily want to leave the program that you already at. But damn, if it's better than the program, if you have an offer that's better than what you had, I'm gonna take it. People forget that Lane Kiffin was at Florida Atlantic before he went to Ole Miss. Let's not forget this. He spent 2 years at Florida Atlantic before he went to Ole Miss. Then he went to Ole Miss. But and in that first season at Ole Miss, OD, remember what his record was? I'll let you know at the 10 games. 5-5. And they on him. And they said, oh, see, this that USC Lane Kiffin. Even Ole Miss fans weren't sure about him, and they ragged on him like he was nothing. Let's not play this. They do a lot of revisionist history.
They do.
Florida Atlantic. No, excuse me. He was at Florida Atlantic for 3 seasons. Right, first year. Let me take a look here. 11-3. Then he went 5-7. Then he went 11-3 again, which catapulted him to a bigger program in Ole Miss. First year he went 5-5. Then he went 10-3, and currently at 11-1, and reached of a playoff berth. He did exactly what he's supposed to do at Ole Miss. He made them go from, because people sit up here and talk about Ole Miss. Oh, Ole Miss. Brother, you have to sit up here and just be real with yourself. 2019, Ole Miss was 4-8. 2018, 5-7. 2017, 6-6. 2016, 5-7. Have you heard of 10 win yet? No. Let me go one more year back. 2015, they went 10-3. Good for them. That's when they had Chad Kelly, overrated ass, at quarterback. But that was way back in 2015. I remember that year. They actually thought that dude was going to be a day one pick at one point because of who he was related to, Jim Kelly.
Yep.
And I said, this dude is not the quarterback. And you know what Chad Kelly ended up doing? Then he went to the NFL for a couple years. He got drafted by, let's take a look real quick. He went to the 7th round to the god doggone Denver Broncos. He didn't even last the Broncos that damn long. But my point is that when you talk about versus the whole entree, it's not a comparison. Ole Miss is an appetizer. LSU's the entree, the 4-course meal. Yep. Florida, you're like an appetizer. I wouldn't even say that. You're more of you could be a meal, but the problem with Florida is, and what their fans don't understand, is just like you talked about living alumni and all that kind of stuff. That don't matter. What does that matter? I asked the guy, just like I told you earlier, me and this guy, Florida fan, went back and forth debating. And I said, who is your version of the guy who owns Canes? He started replying. I said, there you go. Because you don't have it. Can Florida get recruits? Sure. But one thing that goes into it, and I was saying this earlier to, 3 things are very important when it comes down to winning, especially in the SEC. Recruiting, the school having your back in terms of backing with money, and of course the stadium and fan support, blah, blah, blah. But the third big thing is development. Guys have to get better on a year-to-year basis. And if that's not happening, you can't have sustainability. That's one thing Nick Saban, to me, the greatest coach of college football history. But he developed his players. Now, granted, some of the secondary players, they go to the league. These guys didn't practice well, whatever they may be. But when they were under Nick Saban, he developed players. It was like the guy dog. As soon as one player leave, he had a guy ready to take his position, and he was just as good, if not better. That is key in terms of that. LSU will give you that. Ole Miss cannot. They don't have a history. Just like we talked earlier about NFL talent. They don't have that history of talent getting better. DK Metcalf, to use him as an example, once he went to the league, went to the Seattle Seahawks, he was who he was. He didn't get better in route running. He's a physical specimen that can overpower a defensive back. Once that's over with, it's it. He's never been a number one receiver. He's number two. But I digress. SEC football is in a whole nother world.
Yep.
But you got to have the coaches, the coaching staff, and the player development along with your recruiting. I had an Ole Miss fan tell me, it don't matter with recruiting. At that point in time, I knew he was absolutely, positively, and excuse me, OD, he was fucking delusional. Because it lets me know that Ole Miss and their fans are out of touch with the rest of the fucking world. Because they believe that recruiting does not matter. And only people that say recruiting does not matter are fucking losers. And those who cannot fucking recruit. That means you're not a great recruiting program. So you try to cope by saying, well, we did well in the transfer portal. Why do you think they fucking came? Lane Kiffin. And so LSU right now, they got the coach. And sounds like they got the offense coordinator and their strength and conditioning coach, which is another mistake that Brian Kelly, as he made many at LSU, was he got rid of the strength and conditioning coach at LSU who had been there for decades. You fucking idiot. What the fuck are you thinking? Why would you get rid of a guy who not only helped develop so many other players before that went to the league and had success, but was known for getting many other players developed and having them. LSU has a history of having not only good players that develop well, but also they can play longer than you. I'll take you back to a championship game against Ohio State. Ohio State, by the time the end of the third quarter, starting to the fourth quarter, they were gassed. They were not ready to keep going. LSU already beat them with strength and by will, but they were also more. They were more. They were built to last through the fourth quarter because they had the conditioning to go for 4 quarters and beyond. LSU lost that recently because Brian Kelly fired the guy. So you have to understand that LSU, when it comes to the SEC, you're competing for playoff positioning, and also you're playing for you're fighting for a national championship and a spot for that. You can't sit there, and think that 10 wins is a successful season. In SEC country, that's for programs like LSU, Alabama, Georgia, and look like possibly Oklahoma, coming into that picture. Oklahoma's a very good football team. I don't think that they're going to be a great football team in the playoffs, but I think that they are a very good football team. Only reason I say that they're going to have issues in the playoffs, another team I don't really take too seriously, just like Oklahoma fits that realm of Ole Miss and Texas Tech. Part of the teams that I don't really take serious in the playoffs, simply because they're not really a team I could look at and say, okay, they have this, they have this, they have this. They check these boxes. Ole Miss defense problems. But then you make the defensive coordinator the head coach. Doesn't make any sense to me, but it is what it is, right? And then you got Texas Tech, who, you know, even when Patrick Mahomes is there, you know, they just don't have the defense to go in the offensive line to go up against one of the teams that have that that can have a good defense, or has the front seven that can get pressure without blitzing. You know, so Texas Tech, we'll see. I don't believe in them as well, but we'll see. But when it comes to SEC football, you got to be. You want to be a part of the elite. And SEC football has, you know, for 10 to 15 years has dominated college football. This isn't, you know, the old days where teams like USC, Notre Dame, Michigan, teams like that are dominating the sport because the SEC recruits well. That's what Lane Kiffin went to LSU for, and that's something that Nick Saban talked about. It's about recruiting. It's about, can I recruit? He can pull offensive players. They'll come there because they know that he's going to maximize their talents and get the most out of them. But when it comes to the defense, can you get that at Ole Miss without going to the transfer portal? Can you get guys fresh out of high school and build your program? When you can't just build a program through the transfer portal. You have to build that program through recruiting classes. That's the issue. And that's what people seem not to understand. Why did he pick, you know, he should have went to Florida? For what? Florida may have the recruiting. I'll give them that. They have good recruiting. They have very good recruiting. But do you have the program to develop these players? Florida has shown that they cannot. Billy Napier went there, and in 4 seasons, 22 and 23, they had recruiting classes, top 10 recruiting classes in that time. But the issue is development, discipline, and direction. I call it the 3 Ds: development, discipline, and direction. If you don't have that for your program, you're in trouble, because that is where LSU had problems with Ed Orgeron in terms of not just development, but also discipline. And then it came from, you didn't have really a direction in which way you were going. So Lane Kiffin, last I'm going to say about him is, I think he made the right decision for himself. Long term, I think he may be there for for a while, especially if he has success. If Lane Kiffin, within his first 2, I'll say about 3 years, in his first 3 years, he could walk away with a championship or get deep in the playoffs, he'll be there for a while. The recruiting class, you're going to start seeing guys. Mark my words. You heard it here first on the Tucker podcast. They're going to start getting recruits to flip to LSU. It's going to happen. Now, people can sit there and say, well, you don't know that. Even with the coaching situation, LSU has had top 10 classes. And I believe they're top 5 in this recruiting cycle right now. You know, and that's when it comes down to the brand is the brand. It's just like the Cowboys. You go to the Cowboys, the Cowboys may not have had success in terms of the 90s, but the Cowboys brand is the Cowboys brand. They're always going to be the Cowboys. They're always going to, no matter how many times people try to change it, even with the Patriots having their dynasty and winning, they're still the Cowboys dynasty. Still the Cowboys brand. They are who they're going to be. They could pull players from free agency based off their brand alone. LSU has done the same thing. I'm not saying to the Cowboys. What I'm saying is their name has been able to pull players and recruit players and coaches to that brand, which is LSU. LSU has winning in their culture. If we look outside of football, baseball, track and field, getting Olympic players, getting people, male and female, into the Olympics because of their talent and skill. Women's basketball. You know, you got wrestling champions, baseball champions, golf champions, lacrosse. Come on. So we look at this. LSU has a history in their whole culture of winning across the board. If Lane Kiffin is able to take this team, remember this, folks. Prior to Brian Kelly, the last 3 coaches at LSU won a championship. Nick Saban, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron has already made known that he wants to be on the Lane Kiffin staff. Now, whether that's in the advisory role or helping with recruiting, Lane Kiffin, I'm sure, will be happy to take him. Ed Orgeron has a history of going from the West Coast, the East Coast, down South, and Midwest, and able to recruit top talent. And as a head coach, he's had success at LSU, won a championship, as I said a second ago. This guy knows how to recruit. He knows how to reach a player. But it comes down to getting your staff together, putting players in the right position to have success, and I believe they will do that. But as we talk about